additions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Chair's report. I am very pleased to announce that Harold Johnson has been reappointed to another term by the governor, and today we are joined by two brand new council members, Alex Hammond on my right and Jeff Cole on my left. So we welcome them, and if you didn't have the chance to meet one or both of them prior to the meeting, please don't be bashful and feel free to introduce yourself. We have some materials that we'll be putting together for the newest council members, and the president and I have also talked about scheduling a couple of orientation meetings, including a walking tour of the campus. And I would like to make sure that other council members know that they're welcome, because I know Steve and Rich kind of just thrown into everything. Rich said that I didn't introduce him the first time, I just told him to sit down. And he did. So thank you for that, Richard. But we are all members of the Potsdam family. I would like to apologize. I mean, I have been on this council for probably 35 years, give or take. And 2 weeks ago was the first time in my memory that we've ever had to reschedule a council meeting because of Mother Nature. I'm accused of being a control freak, but even I can't control what she does. So thank you all for being flexible. We will try to give you as much heads up. We'll let you know at the end of this meeting. Well, I can let you know right now, April 24th, so mark it on your calendars. And I was pleased to see that 2 weeks ago, the day of our council meeting was also Potsdam Pride Night, but that went forward. Yes, Callis?
Yes, it did.
Okay, because we were all looking forward to, heading over to Maxie and cheering on the Bears as we continue with our athletic prowess and our very terrific student athletes. That's really the essence of my report. That it's big news for us that we now still have one vacancy on the council because Bryan Hughes resigned due to health issues, and we will be addressing that. Having said that, I will now turn it over to President Esterberg to give us her report.
Excellent, thank you. You have my written report, but one thing I do want to highlight there is how important SUNY Potsdam is as an engine of social mobility. To be ranked 52 among 1,458 institutions nationwide in terms of serving low-income students is really an important point of pride for our campus. So I want to highlight that. And we are in good company with many, many other SUNYs. SUNY continues to be a highly affordable institution for New Yorkers and folks from throughout the country, but especially New Yorkers. And I think that we really strive to make sure that we can continue to provide a high-quality, affordable education. So I wanted to point that out. The other point of pride I'm going to start with is that as a campus, as you know, we've been working very, very hard on retention. Enrollment and retention are the most critical priorities for the campus. And this spring, as we lock in our spring numbers, the fall to spring retention for first-time, full-time freshmen, so these are the students who came to us for the first time in the fall, 92.1% of them came back for spring. That's incredible. It's the highest retention rate we've had from fall to spring in something like 6 or 7 years. So it's really the result of the entire campus's work, the work of faculty, providing early alerts for students. It's the work of faculty creating what we call some recitation sections to provide support for students who are in courses that tend to be challenging for first-year students. That's really an important, I think, point of pride for the campus and shows the dedication of the campus in really trying to make sure that every student succeeds. Our enrollment numbers, question? Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah. But, so, not that there's a competition necessarily, but do you have an average for the SUNY system?
You know, I don't know what the average for the SUNY system is, but I can get that once those numbers are locked in. We tend to be, because we serve a lower income student population than many of the comprehensives, for example, because we serve a lower income population than, say, Geneseo, our students struggle more financially, and they're more likely to drop out for financial reasons. So sometimes students will not return for reasons that are beyond their control. So maybe at the next council meeting, we can do a deeper dive into where we are compared with others. It's phenomenal for us. Typically, we're 87, 88, so this is a really significant improvement. And we've really worked hard to make sure that we've helped students, find a way to cover their bill before they come and they start school. So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing comprehensively. But I can definitely provide some comparative data in the spring. Enrollments continue to be a challenge for all of SUNY. All of the comprehensives have seen a downturn in enrollments. Some of the research universities have gone from a downturn to about flat, but it's a really difficult enrollment year. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I just got some numbers from Ron Brown, which I won't read to you, but essentially we're down about 10% in applications this time last year. And that's about, it's about the middle of the pack for the SUNY comprehensives. We are working hard. We're doing a whole bunch of things that we have not done before that I think will improve our yield over previous years. We're communicating more directly with students through our slate, which is a process. It's a way in which we can reach out to students online in ways that we haven't, much more efficiently. We're making phone calls in ways that we haven't before. We have bought the name of every single junior or senior within 150 miles of campus, and we're working those pools very, very hard. So please know we're leaving no stone unturned. But it's really, it's the fact that the Northeast and Northern New York have lower numbers of college-age students, and we're really needing to work hard to recruit every single one. So that's the enrollment front. There are some other really amazing things going on. Men's basketball, this is a critical weekend. If you haven't been watching our men's basketball team, I hope you will, either in person or online. I couldn't be prouder. When I came, we were at the bottom of the SUNY-ACs. Right now, we're tied for number 2. And Saturdays.
Is that because of your coaching?
No, it is because
Soccer is her sport.
Have you ever, she's back behind the team, and she's telling the coach.
It is Coach Jim, it is our Coach Bechtel. He is an amazing coach, and our athletic director, Sharif Hashim, and our amazing step team and cheerleading and crowd. All I can say is we've tried to put the right people out there recruiting and coaching, and they've just done a spectacular job. It's really exciting to watch them, and I think they make all of us proud. So this is a critical weekend. If you can't be here in person, tonight at 7, Saturday at 4, you can always stream those online, but it's just been a really good year for that team. Our women's basketball has been improving. I think our men's volleyball team, this is our first year, as you'll recall. They won their very first game. We won't talk about the subsequent games, but again, these are all efforts we're doing to try and invest in experiences that will want students to give us a look who might not otherwise. Crane is doing, we're entering into that season of musicality. So again, I would invite you to any number of the concerts, dance performances, theatrical performances. Those are the kinds of things that makes Potsdam very special. And, especially to our 2 new council members, I hope that you will feel like this is your go-to place every evening, because every evening there is something amazing going on our campus. In terms of searches, we have just brought together the search committee for the Vice President for Business Affairs, so that search is launching soon, and we're in the midst of the search for the Director of Admissions. As typical, when we do bring candidates to campus, we hope you'll join us for open sessions. That's a really important opportunity for you to have a voice in the future of our campus. But those are important searches that I'm very much looking forward to bringing to fruition this season. And I think the only other things I'll say is Betty Bergeron, our Provost and Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs, and I are working collaboratively with the presidents and provosts from across the region, from Watertown to Plattsburgh and down to Saranac Lake, to see what can we, in this very difficult budget season, in this very difficult enrollment season, what are the things that we can do together that will help us as a region be more attractive to students and will help us be more efficient. And, you know, in light of that, probably Betty wanted to say this, we just got approval for our very first, for a program with building leader and district leader certification. And we're doing that in collaboration with SUNY Plattsburgh, which I'm very, very proud of. So with that, we're at the beginning of advocacy season. The road to Albany will be very well paved by the time I'm done. There are some initial good signs, both from the governor and from the assembly. But again, it's the start of the season. I will be down there regularly. I know Kellis and students will be down there joining us. And if any of you ever want to help me in advocating for SUNY and for our campus, you're welcome to join me. But the two critical issues really for the campus are coverage of the TAP gap, which I talked about a little bit this morning with Jeff. Really coverage of student financial aid, coverage of the cost, more of the cost of students' attendance. That's a really critical, and coverage of the collective bargaining costs. Those are really important points for our campus. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
When you talk about regional, is there any expansion or anything with Jefferson Community College?
We do, yeah, in fact, you're going to hear a lot this morning about our work there. That's been one of the most amazing collaborations and one that I am so, so proud of. So you're going to hear a little bit more about some of our education and business programming there. But yes, that, I would say JCC is one of our closest and best partners, and we're very proud of the work there and the work on Flicon.
When you bring when the campus brings candidates for the new positions, for the director positions and stuff, is it going to be open to all students on campus?
Yes, yes. When we have an open forum, we have open and we will invite students as well. Yes.
The campus community.
Yeah. But thank you for that clarification. Yes.
Any other questions? So if you should happen to hear any buzzing out there about this giant meeting with presidents and provosts, there's nothing nefarious going on.
Yes, this is not.
This is self-directed, it's
Yes.
not top-down.
That's right.
As some other things in the past that shall remain nameless happened. This is not that.
Yeah.
This is a good thing.
Yeah, we are, and you know, we're really eager to collaborate with our SUNY sister and, you know, whatever, sister campuses, I suppose. We're very happy to collaborate and
I like campus better than institution.
yeah, do cool things together.
All right, thank you, President Esterberg.
Thank you, Jean.
And now, because Steve brought it up, and it happens to be on the agenda, we're going to hear from Alan Hirschner, who is Assistant Vice President for Graduate and Continuing Education.
Yeah, I got a new job.
Right. I don't know, he's going to have several business cards depending on what hat he's wearing that day. And Laura Carbone, who is the head of our Watertown Extension Center, and also a good friend of my daughter's, but that has nothing to do with this, but Vicki says hi. So I'm going to turn it over to you two to enlighten us about the exciting things going on in Watertown.
Great, thank you, June. Thank you, everyone. So, Mr. O'Shaughnessy, all you need to do is ask, and we will immediately come up and have a prepared PowerPoint presentation. So, Thank you, June, I appreciate it. It's great, as June mentioned, I'm Alan Hersker. It's good to be back talking to you all again. Last time I was here, I was Director of General Education. With the passage of the new Gen Ed program, I was out of a job. So they kindly kind of moved me down to graduate and continuing education. Laura Carbone, I'll give her an opportunity just to say hello and introduce herself really quickly.
Hi, I'm Laura Carbone. I did my bachelor's and master's here at SUNY Potsdam. So I'm an alum. I've been a longtime resident of Northern New York. And I was an adjunct professor for 15 years at Watertown. And so I kind of was shadowing the former director, and when the position became open, I applied. And I've been working there for the last 3 years. I'm very, very proud of just the partnerships, the collaboration. Our mission is to not be the best kept secret in Watertown anymore. That has been our goal for the last few years.
Thank you, Laura. So as Laura and I both work in the Office for Graduate and Continuing Education, that office does graduate studies. We do a lot of the process work for our online courses. We do special sessions. We do college and high school. What else do we do down there, Laura?
Watertown.
And Watertown Extension Center, which is what we're here to talk about today. We have a great staff. I want to shout out to Laura as well as Nikki Gobert, or I'm sorry, Jessie Gobert, Nikki Zeldon, Kathy Sherwood, and Maggie Mitchell. It's a great place to be. I'm particularly excited about working with Laura in Watertown. I started off my career in higher ed as an adjunct at JCC, so it's really actually nice for me to be involved with them again. Just some really quick facts about Jefferson Community College and our site down there. I think folks know where JCC is. It's in close proximity to Fort Drum, which has been great. The official designation for our presence down there is as an extension site. As we grow, we might want to change that and upgrade that. It's, as I think you all suspect, a huge paperwork issue, so we want to wait till it's the right time for us to make that move. Currently, we're offering 2 bachelor's programs and 5 master's programs at JCC, at the JHEC, the Jefferson Higher Education Center down there. In spring of 2020, we had over 100 students enrolled, over 30 faculty were teaching at the site, and we're offering 90 courses through there, whether distance learning, online or on campus. In the spring, we were thrilled to have 31 graduates. And the cool thing about this is our graduates at our JCC Extension Center participate in JCC's graduation. So a bunch of us get an opportunity to don our academic drag and go down there and celebrate with our students. We've got, in addition to Laura, have 5 staff members on site, and we are thrilled that JHEC and our Watertown Extension Center is an area of enrollment for the campus. We saw a 74% growth in enrollment from fall of 19 to fall of 20, which is absolutely amazing in this higher ed climate. So that's a little bit about the Extension Center. Here's a timeline, and Laura, who is one of the most gracious people that I know, is responsible for the gift bags you have in front of you. Laura also put together a folder that has this presentation in it, if you wanted to take a little bit more about the timeline. But just really quickly, we started a relationship with JCC back in 1987. It's steadily grown. We got the application for Extension Center approved in 02 and 03. In summer of 2010, the Jefferson Higher Education Center was established on JCC. It's a distinct building, and it's also a site that houses several other campuses there, and more of those campuses are?
Empire State, SUNY Oswego, Cayuga, Nazareth, and
So, excellent. Summer 18, we had an addition, and this is basically a quick illustration of the growth of programs that we've offered at JCC's campus, and we are looking forward to continued growth with some other programs that we'll mention in just a minute.
So, as it was shared, we have bachelor's and master's programs. The masters have been in place the longest. We have the Masters of Science for Teaching, which is probably our most enrolled program. It is for a lot of non-traditional students who are coming in from all different places and spaces in their professional careers that want to become teachers. So it's about a 1-year program, student teaching, and they are certified 1 through 6. We have a master's in literacy and 1 in curriculum instruction. We just added the Masters of Management and Business last year. very excited because as you'll see in the bachelor's, we have some really nice pathways growing. And in your folders, there's Jefferson partnered with us to do a great advertising campaign that shows our education and business pathways. So we've been having a lot of flow up from the bachelor's programs now into our master's programs. And again, we added the Certificate of Advanced Study in Inclusive and Special Education. It has also kind of hybrided through our curriculum and instruction program because you can take 4 electives and the special ed ones have been matched. So we've really been growing because of teacher shortage and growing of businesses all around the Watertown area. So those are 2 really good tracks for us to have for programs. Again, we have had, the business administration program has been the longest joint program, shared program, 2 years with JCC, 2 years with Potsdam. Greg Gardner and Don Robinson are our advisors and educational liaisons down there, and they are phenomenal. Don just shared out the business symposium is coming March 16th to JCC, and we're a big part of that. They really partner and encourage folks to look at Potsdam. The early childhood and childhood program just came. Oh,
I have a question.
Sure.
On the move into the bachelor's, is the first 2 years at JCC and then they have to come here?
No, it's all
They
in.
stay right at JCC?
It's all in Watertown. Minus 1 credit. Because we're an extension center and not a branch campus, they have to do.
I think that's important that you can do that.
Yeah.
It is.
So
It's
other
extremely
than 1 credit.
helpful to a student not to have to move.
Yeah, it's a big sell because we can save them $10,000 to $12,000 in residence and they can still continue to work because of the way we set up our programs. So it really helps to fray some of that cost.
What's the 1 credit level?
When you are an extension center, as Alan was saying, there's different levels and we're not branch campus. Extension center rules required to come up to campus for 1 credit. So programs do them differently. They might come up for a weekend course, or in the student teaching, they come up for 2 conference days. So it just has to equal X number of hours here to have had contact time with the main campus. That's the state's rule. We call them field trips, excursions. The newest program is the Early Childhood Birth through 6. That had actually been on the books for over 15 years with JCC, but we partnered with them, cleaned up courses because courses had come and go, and we wanted it to be seamless. And we had projected 6 students because it was in an off template when we started it. We had 15. And I just spoke with Jerry Furman, the Vice President of Academic Affairs, and she shared that there are currently 60 students that have made changes into our track, our program, from individual studies. So we're really excited. She shared that JCC is also experiencing an enrollment decline, but the education program has grown 158% since we began our track for this. So we're very excited. Another partner that we're hugely very involved in and very thankful to have is Military and Veterans Services. JCC has one with Craig McNamara. We have the same service offices, and we are so blessed to have Jeffrey Darish. He is former retired Lieutenant Colonel from Fort Huron. So he has just I don't know, I'm not worthy to be around what he's able to do, I will say. He is phenomenal, one of the nicest people you would ever know, and just works very hard. Our military and retired and spouse and student has grown. I believe it was at like 17, and we went to 71 total. So he's just doing a phenomenal job. And there's a lot that goes with that because there's a lot of Veterans Affairs programs for financial aid, and Jeffrey knows it in and out. And he was one that spearheaded the DOD MOU that we had to do, the renewal. Very close partnerships with Pat Massaro at SUNY Canton and, like I said, Craig McNamara. So again, just layers and layers of a lot of good collaboration going on. And he comes down twice a month minimally to meet with students, otherwise by appointment. So he's, a face on campus, not just a person over the phone.
So I think another thing that we want to highlight about the work that we're doing at JCC and with JCC is that there's been a very intentional, as Laura hinted when she was talking about teachers, an intentional need to meet state and regional labor needs. With fewer teachers entering the profession, with a lot of attrition, nearly, and it's noted up there, in the next 5 years, about a third of the current active teachers are going to be eligible to retire. So there's going to be a huge opportunity, and we're really pleased to be partnering with JCC to tap into that to serve students as well as the education needs. This is a quick, again, something Laura alluded to, but we've seen great growth in our business program at JCC, and I think key to it was exactly what you're saying, allowing students the ability to pursue their education, staying at JCC, staying local. It's great that we also have the MS in Management program there, so students literally, could 2 years at JCC, 2 years with us as undergrads, and then 2 years with us to get a grad degree. Parenthetically, not about Watertown, but we're also moving our MS in Management online soon, so that's going to be an additional opportunity for enrollment.
Quick question before we get too
Yes,
far
of course.
on.
Yeah.
Just going back to the military-friendly institution, are we currently ranked by them? What's our ranking?
Actually, we shouldn't both look at each other with that screwed up. I don't know the answer phase, should we?
They don't even.
I don't think they give a numerical ranking.
You just
Is
get
it just a-
you get
Military
the designation,
friendly.
we are military.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it was Susan.
That-
The court may rank, but
Yeah.
it's more, we've got that military serving designation
Okay.
that we're proud of.
I think they often tend to, I think the military would hesitate ranking,
Yeah.
giving a ranking. So I think
I
you're
think
either
I'm
military friendly or
US
you're not.
News military
Yeah.
because I know Syracuse usually ranks pretty high,
Okay.
just because they've been doing it since.
Yeah, Syracuse is
Global too, so.
formidable, yeah.
Right.
You're doing amazing.
But, no, it's great that you guys are doing it. So.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the question. Am I doing this? You're doing this? We, okay.
So we are continuing to expand the early childhood joint program, which is, there's several childhood programs going on, or soon to be going on. The birth through 6 program that we just started last year with the off-template cohort, we'll be having the first full cohort coming in the fall. So we will be running 2 simultaneously. And then we are also currently working with them to do the same thing that we did with the birth through 6. We are bringing a birth through 2, which is that early childhood. Governor Cuomo has put in a big amount of funding for first 4-year-olds in universal pre-K, and then 3-year-olds in half day and full day. So that, along with having JRC, which is now ARC, and Benchmark Family Services and Building Blocks and Little Loops, we have, again, partnered back with JCC. We're in the process right now. Our hopes are to have in the fall approval to put this program in place. So we will have like the wee early childhood, and then the school age, kindergarten to 6th childhood going on. Because there's a need, there's a market need. We're getting calls from preschool directors and schools all the time. Do you have teachers? Do you have teachers? Like Alan was saying, whenever Indian River, we were just out there on a field visit, is retiring 58 teachers over the next 2 years. I mean, we cannot turn out teachers fast enough.
Yeah, so, and I think I talked about that, so a little bit more about we're exploring some different options with the management degree. We currently have an MS in management. Research is suggesting, I think Betty was just on a webinar the other day, MBAs are not areas of growth, and probably if you looked at MBA programs, there's a lot of them. So we are exploring other kinds of management programs, leadership, human resources development, so those are under development as well.
That flows into, we have 2 very good tracks, the business and education. So now we're looking at our first go at merging the 2 through a certificate of advanced study for school business leader. On campus here, you heard we have the school building and school district leader that we are launching. So we have had preliminary meetings to see if there's a way to bring school business leader to Watertown. We can't, because we're in a partnership, we have to be, with all the other colleges, we have to be respectful of not bringing the same programs to compete with each other in that partnership. So SUNY Oswego has a school admin program, but they don't have a school business leader. So that's one of the endeavors we're working on.
There has been a lot of work in making sure that we're tying JCC's campus and main campus together. One of those is expanding elective offerings. You know, we have a number of faculty who will make a trip down to JCC to teach. We're tying our efforts in Watertown to also our expansion of online courses, which has been a strategic priority for academic affairs. The beautiful thing about online and distance learning is a course can be taught here, a course can be taught, or a course could be taught at JCC with technology bringing those classes together. And we're additionally also, and Laura, you would know a little bit more about this than I would, but expanding our JCC partnership. Jefferson Community College has recently
They built their new building, their beautiful building in Lewis County that has BOCES and Cornell Cooperative Extension, but there is also rooms for programming. And so they have begun their steps to get credit-bearing programs down in Lewis County. And because there's such a heavy program need in the area of agribusiness, business, marketing, tourism, they have asked us to, once they're established with their courses, to then bring in our business programs there. So we'll have like an extended extension site, lots of distance learning going on. And another way they also did this was we added accounting in this year into the business strand because Fort Drum indicated that there's a need for accountants. So we've really been trying to listen to the needs of the area through their roundtable discussions, attending Chamber of Commerce meetings, both in Watertown and in Lewis County.
So then again, this is our Watertown team. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sorry.
Is there a current program where if you graduate from JCC with your associates, you get automatic? Okay.
So President Essenberg, a couple weeks ago, actually not long ago, just signed an articulation agreement a couple months ago.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Great.
And in fact, just parenthetically, you know, those kinds of articulation agreements, you know, we're also very active on our campus, as far as what I do too, and in seeking out community college partners on this. The admissions office here at Francis and I work together on kind of reach out, you know, developing those kinds of relationships and putting faculty in touch with each other. So good. So again, our Watertown team, and I do want to thank everyone who's involved in the Watertown campus. It's been a great experience for me, but I think also a great opportunity for JCC students and for our campus as well. We'll obviously open this up for questions, but I guess just to close, I would invite all of you, if you're ever at JCC or would like to come down to Watertown, we would love to show you around the JHAC. Laura, as I mentioned, is a wonderfully gracious host. We
I do feel
classrooms. Yeah. And additionally, there's going to be, and Nicole just reminded me of this, there's going to be a Watertown Community Partners event that's going to be on March 26th at 5:30 at the Hilton Garden Inn, and I'm sure Diane Marie will follow up with more details on this. But if you could join us, that would be amazing to have members of the College Council down there as we kind of celebrate with our JCC and our Watertown partners. Right. Any questions?
How do the economics work with a student that goes, if they're enrolled for Potsdam, but they're down at JCC?
Yep.
Who gets the credit there?
We have a contract with them, Jeff, for the Watertown, the JHAC, or our side of the JHAC. So they pay they pay Potsdam tuition. They are SUNY Potsdam students. One of the things that we're scaling up as enrollment goes up is making sure that all of the services that are available on campus to a student here are available to students at JCC, at the JCC campus as well. Whether it's through personal contact with one of the staff members down there, or whether they're able to access virtually the services we offer here.
During the first 2 years, they would be JCC students and JCC
Yeah.
members.
Grooming them to be.
Yes, yeah.
Would that include athletics? Could they get involved with athletics up here if they were attending JCC?
If
As a Potsdam
if they're a
student?
Potsdam student,
Yeah.
they would be eligible, but as a JCC student, they wouldn't be
Right,
eligible.
but once they moved from JCC to full-time Potsdam, even though they stayed down there, would they be eligible academically to get involved with the programs?
Absolutely. It would be difficult practically, but academically,
sure.
absolutely. If they had NCAA eligibility, they would be.
What about the reverse? Could they stay in JCC? Like, could you play basketball 4 years for JCC?
No.
I don't think they could.
No. You have to play in the division in which you are enrolled.
Gotcha.
NCAA rules.
So you said a third of the existing teachers are going to retire in what's the timeline?
May of 2017 and May of '21. That was NICET's, their teacher union survey based on, the asks for retirement meetings and projections. And it's incredible, the amount of teachers that are going to be needed.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, but I think it's important to reinforce as well that we need to continue looking past that time as well. Because again, I think, and Ron is nodding his head back there, the peaks and troughs for teacher education are fairly substantial because we get these kinds of massive retirements and then massive influxes. So we need to be agile enough to recognize what's beyond, this next, when the teacher education drops again, as it will, we need to make sure we're prepared to have the programs, the next round of programs that are going to be needed.
Challenge for everybody,
Right, exactly, yeah.
not just teachers.
On this issue of teacher shortage, this is not just a bubble that's on the horizon. This is a bubble that's been growing in the last few years. Just as an example, at Indian River that you mentioned, they advertised for 2 high school math teachers last year. I think they got somewhere between 6 and 8 applicants, none of which they decided were suitable, and didn't hire any of them, and then had to go through other procedures to find suitable applicants. So, and this is the kind of job that in past you would get hundreds of applications for. So, this has been building and building. It's just going to get to be a deeper problem.
And where we're looking on the horizon, just so you know, because I'm like always 10 years ahead of where I probably should be. JCC is very heavily into skilled workforce development, and career tech is a massively shortage job area. And the traditional or non-traditional students that come to us often come out of these types of areas. I just met with someone who was a plumber last night who wants to be a kindergarten teacher. So what we're looking at is partnering with Jason Ring at the Office of Teaching Initiatives, and there is another pathway to teaching called individual pathways. And basically the state looks at a person's transcripts and gives them X number of courses that they need for a certification area. So what we have been doing through our master's programs is helping people get these pathways completed. So that is what we're looking at to get past, because when I was a Potsdam graduate and went to apply for a teacher, I applied to Indian River. There were 418 applicants for 2 part-time positions. So we work on stacking credentials for these folks so they leave us with as many certificates of teacher certification as possible, because I was on the other end and I know what can happen, and I know what happens when the government shuts down and all of a sudden a bunch of teachers are laid off. So we really try really hard to make them as marketable as possible and while they're with us.
And Laura mentioned too, I think something important to highlight as well, a lot of the students that we see are often changing careers. So we've been very intentional about making sure that the courses we offer and the times we offer them can be taken advantage of by parents, by people with families with work commitments. So again, those online courses have been very important. The kind of executive weekend courses, we have courses that meet 3 weekends over the course of the semester. So we're trying really as hard as we can to be flexible to accommodate those career changes.
We do 10 4-hour classes versus a 15-hour semester. So we kind of keep families out of the holiday time that they want to go see kids in concerts. and then they're out, before Memorial Day weekend and all that. So we really try to attend to a variety of needs that are non-traditional students share.
I'll talk to you on a personal note about that because I'm currently a music teacher at Lisbon Central School who does not have a music certification or a teacher certification because they couldn't find someone for 4 years to fill that position. So,
The state has just done that, started with waivers. If districts can demonstrate they cannot find teachers in various levels of waivers.
You play an instrument?
He
Plays
plays
several
multiple instruments and he sings.
Just wanted to make sure, look out.
If you talk about the ups and
Sings
downs,
better than his father.
you talk about the ups and downs, and you want to strike while the iron's hot. How long is the iron hot right now?
Right.
Do you know that? Or what are these ups and downs? How many years does it usually go for an up? And where are we in the up?
Laurel, I don't know.
Okay, so if you think there's two things going on with the ups and downs. The baby boomers retired a while ago, and this is the second wave to them, unless they kind of lump in. But the ups and downs are going to be, NYSED is saying 2017 to 2021, because as you were talking about, we're experiencing a decline in student enrollment. So when you have just, they have to be little sometime to get to us at higher ed later on. So the declines can come in smaller class sizes, where, and that is enrollment based, that's having the students. So I would project anywhere from what they're saying, 2021 to 2023 is where we're really going to start to see a more consistent leveling out of districts not meeting. That being said, we've been to all of the districts in the Tri-County region, and the caveat to that, Jeff, is the area of need. Because math teachers, science teachers, the STEM technologies, special education, these are areas of continued shortage because a lot of times they are advanced certificate programs or they're additional certification areas, or they're just programs like Larry, with math, that there's not a lot of people out there yet. So that will be a bubble that may go longer because they're so heavily focused in high school right now in STEM that they have to grow these people that want to do math in order for them to become teachers, unless we have these folks come from other careers. And I'll give a perfect example. We have a young lady who's starting the semester, and she was a physical therapist. And a biology position opened up, and she said, you know what? I want to be with my children while they're in high school. I want to be a biology teacher. So we are seeing some of that going on. So I guess it's not as easy to say when will it level out. It kind of will depend on the types of certification.
And I think another thing that we're doing to address that is the school business leader or school building leader and the school district leader, will be an opportunity for existing teachers to gain additional credentials and certifications. So we can still serve that population, just in serving it in a more niche market.
Other questions? What about the military people that are transitioning out of service? How are we involved?
Yeah, so one of the things, and Dean Galbraith is working on this as well, is working on accommodate. So I think one of the challenges with some military folks and with their families is often that they've taken a couple classes here, a couple classes there, a couple classes in other places. So I think one of the things that we're thinking about and working on actively on now is how, a degree, an undergraduate degree that's going to take those somewhat disparate experiences and somehow, and we tie those together into something cohesive that we can then use as a scaffold for a degree, whether undergraduate or graduate. That's what I can say about that, but I certainly would.
So we're really at the curricular planning stages, but we're building on what's a really successful small-scale model of a student-initiated major, where students they don't fit into any particular niche, but they have a vision for where they want to go. And so what we're trying to do is scaffold a series of courses that would allow students to really take time to discern, what do I want to do with my life, which is a more interesting conversation with a non-traditional student who's coming out of the military. They probably know what they're passionate about, what they're good at. And so we would help them to design a major that would take advantage of what we already offer here at SUNY Potsdam that allow them to have an individualized experience. So if they don't fit into the early childhood adventure business, it's just another pathway.
And Dean Grant in the School of Education and Professional Studies is also is looking at a similar concept for a business type program.
The other things that we try to attend to is that we, are very accommodating with deployments and leaves and trying to do independent studies or finish them up. We had a young lady who, her husband got restationed in Korea, and we did her student teaching at a DOD school. Another thing we try to attend to is keeping the programs as short as possible so that while they are here stationed, they can complete, because that's one of the first things they'll say to me. I'm going to be here for, 2.5, 3 years. What can I get done? So we try to work really hard with completion and attending to that through our individual advising.
Any other questions? None? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Please do visit us in Watertown, and don't forget about the March 26, 5:30 Hilton Garden Inn, Watertown Community Partners. Thank you, Nicole. All right, great. Thanks, folks. You want this on?
Okay, moving right along. Now we go to our reports. And we're going to start with Callis. What's going on?
Well, good morning, everybody. So just starting right off, we were all really excited to come back to campus, starting off the semester pretty strong with our executive board, now being in our second semester in our term, which is pretty crazy to all of us. But, we're moving right along. Something that we're working on right now is elections for the next executive board for the next terms. We're really trying to spearhead this really hard in the sense that it's been low engagement for the past couple of years where students are running or nominating students for positions. So something that I try to do now is kind of like do like a series of like why did I run for student government thing, where I got quotes from all of my executive board members, took pictures, put information up for nominations and elections, and just get that posted around the campus just to get students aware and also put it in their minds. Something else that we're trying to do too is also have our senators and assembly members nominate people that they think would be a good fit for the executive board positions, and then have them give us their names, and then we'll email them and say, hey, you've been nominated. Would you like more information about it? This is the dates for nominations, and elections is coming up. And for that, elections will be April 9th, 2020, which is pretty soon. And nominations start next week, Wednesday, in our Senate meetings. For Senate, we decided to hold Senate the first week of classes just because we had a lot of business to get done, and we'd rather not have things pile up and then have our senators, have to rush through things. I want them to just make sure they're being very tentative and passing these bills. Something else that's happening is our comptroller, Kiara Espinal, she's moving from her comptroller position to transitioning into her treasurer position because the comptroller becomes a treasurer for the next term. So she's really excited about that and really trying to be more in the role, living in it. With Assembly, we are seeing an increase in students attending our Assembly meetings, which is pretty great and always great. And they're very, very tentative when it comes to like passing bills and other constitutions for clubs. And our open forums during that time always goes over the time that we have the meeting, which is always great. But those students really, really care about the campus. Some things for our clubs and organizations. Most of our clubs and organizations did attend Winterfest and were a part of Winterfest back in February. That was really good. We had a great turnout. Even the Student Government Association held a table. I think we did s'mores. Everybody loved the s'mores, so it was really good. We're just trying to really get our faces out there and make sure people understand and know that the student government is there and not just like a building or an office somewhere in the corner. Some new ideas that we do have is giving some recognition to our club leaders. So something I proposed to my executive board was doing some kind of recognition with honors cords maybe. We're still in discussion about it because we're trying to iron out all the details. But my thing is being a club president prior to my position now, it is a lot of work and it does take a lot out of your time outside of having to go to class, be social, eat, sleep. So I just want to make sure that we're recognizing all the hard work that they do throughout the year and just give them a little thanks from us. Some student concerns, and I've talked to the president about this a long time ago, but Just something I wanted to bring to the College Council. If you do remember back over Thanksgiving break, we had that big winter storm throughout the New York State area. A lot of our students got stuck back in their hometowns. I know I was stuck too back in New York City. Some things that students would just like come up to me and like, always like, let me know like all the way that they were feeling, things that happened over the break, and I try to be as active and proactive during that whole thing, make sure everybody was okay. I'm encouraging them to not travel during that time. Let me know what areas they were stuck in. Just trying to get numbers, just because a lot of students, about 100 students were stuck in the New York City area. And the reason they got stuck was that the Trailways bus company did not have any service throughout that time, so they literally were unable to go. And I think that the bus is supposed to leave on Sunday, and the bus service didn't start back up again Tuesday. And then some students still didn't get back to campus until that Friday, which was the last week of classes, and then finals week being the next week. But yeah, that's about it. I can entertain any questions. I know I spoke pretty fast.
What's the overall feeling on campus, or the enthusiasm on campus towards studenthood?
So something that I've heard a lot from students is that they didn't know what student government was until I became president. There's not really an enthusiasm. Some people really see it as, for lack of better terms, boring. But I'm trying to make sure, like, trying to get them to understand that it's pretty fun and it's a great experience. They know about it more now. And another new idea that I forgot to include in here is something that we're trying to do, and we're still working on, is something called the Sd Blackout. It's an idea I had got from the student government over in Buffalo State, where basically they halt all their, most of their student government activities, such as like extended library hours, hosting club events and meetings. So what we're trying to do now is just bring awareness to student government, because not a lot of people know exactly what it is, what their activity fee goes to, and trying to like give them like the understanding that because of the referendum of the student activity fee having to get voted on every 2 years, last year I know that it came to like a pretty close number. I think it was 54% of students voted for it to stay mandatory, which is really close, because if it was like not mandatory, there wouldn't be much funding. So what we're really trying to do is just bring awareness and let students know exactly what it is, because I asked around, people really don't know. Even in our Senate meetings, some people don't know what the activity fees goes for, and all the money that, and all the things that student government really holds on campus. So that's something that we're trying to do, just to bring awareness and get students to understand exactly what it is.
So would the blackout mean that student government would stop doing a certain number of things? So
Yes.
that they could say, oh, wait a minute, the library's closed? That kind of thing?
Yeah, and the way we're trying to do it too is make sure that they're notified way in advance.
Yeah, okay.
So the proposed dates that we have for right now, April 15th, 16th, and 17th, that's still 3 days after the short April break we have. Some things that we're closing will be Pete's Place, which is like our game center, Venture Outdoors, the extended library hours. We wouldn't be holding, hopefully, Senate and Assembly during that week. Also the rock roll and the intramurals. But things that we're not gonna like halt, like the services that we provide, like in the health center and stuff like that, like those need to stay. Like, we're not trying to like take everything off, but just kind of like show them like, this is some of the things that we do, that you do pay for. Yeah, and we're still trying to like I said, iron out all the details and contact all the different places and let them know. And something that we did discuss is that for all the student workers that we have, say for in the library, in the rock wall and stuff like that, maybe, and the racket as well, make sure they still get paid. So it's like, you still clocking your hours, you just wouldn't be there for those 3 days. Because we don't want to take away opportunities from them.
Okay. Thank you
Something,
very
if I can get in there, something I find interesting, Richard, when it comes to the students in the SGA, is that there's a lot of students involved in clubs that are funded through SGA. And a lot of times, they don't even realize that their clubs are funded through their activity fee through SGA. The leaders of the clubs have to know, they have to come and participate, but there's lots and lots of members who are like really happy to be part of those clubs. They don't need to be aware of where all this is coming from. If it went away, they wouldn't be happy.
What's a few of did you give me like 3 like really popular clubs on campus that give funding to you guys?
Our Black Student Alliance, Bear Witness is our step team, and also, what was another big one? Our Crane Student Association. Those are 2 big ones.
How big a fund are you dealing with? How much money?
Overall budget?
Yeah.
$600,000. That's overall with all the services we provide. all the fun we do for the clubs, paying our executive board members and other student workers as well as our business manager in our office.
Okay.
Sounds like you need a marketing.
Yeah, definitely.
Just need to
But-
take the step team out
No,
to
yeah.
do some marketing.
All the conferences I had went to, our budget is pretty small compared to a lot of other student schools, granted that we are a small campus. I know University of Buffalo has a $4.7 million budget for their student government. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we probably should figure it out per capita. Okay, Blair Medor.
Come up
Yeah,
here.
go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Blair Medor. I teach in the mathematics department and I'm the faculty senate chair. I wrote a report for you, which is now grossly outdated since our meeting got delayed. So let me just provide a little updates to some of the things that I mentioned in the report. One of the interesting things that's going on is that SGA brought forward two different items to the faculty senate that they wanted us to weigh in on in some way or form. It's very interesting because SGA has certainly got the power to make recommendations to the president directly. They do not have to come through the faculty senate to ask for these things, but they wanted faculty to have a voice. One of them was a green fee initiative, which the faculty senate agreed with and agreed that faculty would like to help participate in the management of such a fund, and faculty also want to contribute to such a fund. And so we're quite excited that that came forward and that's going to happen. The other one was the Black Solidarity Day, which is really interesting. If you don't know about Black Solidarity Day, I guarantee you in the next few years, if you participate in events on our campus, you'll have an opportunity to learn more about it. It's an interesting one because the origin of the day is for people of color to withdraw themselves from society in order for us to notice their absence. And so as faculty, debating the merits of observing this on our campus was particularly hard because we want them to be in our classes, learning from us at all times. The faculty senate debated this at length and brought forward a motion, had a lot of vigorous discussion about it, and the faculty there wanted it to be a mandatory event for campus. So it's gone forward to the president now, and I know she intends to sign it, and still working out the details of all what's involved there. So we're kind of excited about that. Let's see, what else? I reported here about controlling of spending policies on campus. We're quite happy to know that all of that control is back in the hands where it belongs, which was with our president and our provost. Faculty are still not really happy about some of the spending restrictions, and I know that our administrators are aware of this, and I know that we're going to have continuing conversations to try to find the right balance. There should be a natural tension between administrators trying to meet the budget lines and academic members who are trying to use money to provide the best educational opportunities that we can. So that's to be expected, but we're going to keep pushing on those issues.
Have the restrictions been somewhat reduced now that it's back on campus, or is it still draconian as it was?
They're pretty close to what they were before. The good thing about it is that before, you had to do this so many months in advance. It would get sent to Albany, and the people in Albany would ask 4 million questions that were irrelevant, and Provost Bergeron had to handle all of this. I mean, we were killing her in doing this. Like, it's grossly unfair. And frankly, it's a tribute to her that during that time period, any faculty travel got approved and went through. I mean, we appreciate that directly. We wish that process never happened, and we wish that the process even now would be easier. There's still a lot of discontent about that, but we're going to work on that, and we're going to get to the best place that we can. I suspect by the next time you meet with us, we'll probably have more to say about that topic. I did want to point out that we had a visit from Gwen Kay, who's the chair of the University Faculty Senate, and she makes a point of trying to visit all the campuses throughout her 2-year term.
But in particular, because we'd had so many financial challenges and problems on campus, we were really excited to have her come and talk with different people on campus and try to give us a bit of an outside perspective on issues that might help us understand how to tackle them. And, you know, some really interesting things came from that I didn't expect, and I'm very pleased about. One of them, she has a knowledge of how the SUNY system is set up in general, and she pointed out that we have some very unique things on this campus, and she means literally unique. One of them, she was very impressed that we have an admissions committee that is staffed by faculty and that plays basically the main role in deciding which students attend this campus. There are many SUNY campuses where faculty have precious little to do with the decision of who attends the campus. And so she was really impressed with that. She was really impressed with the fact that I, as Faculty Senate Chair, get to sit on the board for the foundation and get to participate in one of the foundation committees. I've talked to many campus governance leaders who feel like they're completely locked out from what's going on in their college foundation. And she said that really our access to speak with our president and our provost is frankly completely unique in the system. That both Kristen and Betty have devoted an enormous amount of time communicating with us. We're not always happy with the communication. We're not always happy with the substance of it. But thank God we can talk to each other and try to work on these things, because that's just not the case in other places from what I've learned. And so that really made me feel a lot more heartened about our ability to tackle our problems on this campus. And so I think in that regard, it was a really successful visit on her part. And I know that she picked up on a lot of our issues and really tried to hammer them home with Kristen. So we appreciated that lift from her as well. So I think that's all I'd like to say this morning, unless there's any questions.
Questions? Comments? Not? Thank you very much, Blair.
Okay.
When is the next Faculty Senate meeting?
The next Faculty Senate meeting is in 2 weeks from yesterday.
And council members are, of course, welcome to attend if you would like to.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Bergeron.
Last night, we did have a Q&A with the campus community sponsored through the Faculty Senate, so a lot of the issues were brought up and discussed there. So those are really helpful venues for us as well through our shared governance process, so thank you, Blair. I will be happy to entertain any questions about any of the elements in the report from a couple of weeks ago. As Kristen had mentioned, we did finally get the approval for the Ed Leadership Advanced Certificate, so that allows individuals to be certified as school building principals or district superintendents. 203 years in the making. I'm not really sure why this wasn't always part of our legacy and tradition as a normal school, but with the closure of that program at SLU, provided us with the opportunity to work with SLU and BOCES and area superintendents to transition that to Potsdam. So that is really exciting. One of the things that the campus is currently looking at are some difficult conversations around whether or not we want to change our academic calendar. So the campus has a faculty and staff-led calendar committee, believe it or not. It's kind of like a committee of committees, right? Sounds like a bizarre thing to have, but a calendar committee which determines the academic calendar. A subcommittee of the calendar committee has been working for a couple of years on thinking about what our challenges and opportunities are around our academic calendar, particularly three things. One is the length of our winter break. Most institutions have a winter break of 4 weeks. Ours has crept to 6. It's a long time. What that happens is it bumps our commencement way into May, which means that our students don't get home until late May, and therefore are shut out of some internship and employment opportunities. So that's a concern that we're disadvantaging our students because we know that they need to work in the summer. We have offered a winterim session, so in the break between the fall semester and spring semester, winterim session, which the enrollment in which has declined significantly. I think we only offered 8 courses this winter. So this is not productive and is not meeting the needs of faculty. So what we're thinking about, or the recommendation from the subcommittee is proposing, is that we eliminate winterim, but instead have a short Maymester, 2 weeks, maybe 3. We'll see what their recommendation is. That would be right after the spring term ends. So this would allow a better chance, we think, for students to make up courses that need to be made up, to get their gen ed requirements to maintain eligibility for financial aid, including Excelsior, or to take prereqs that are needed for the coming fall. So those 3 separate but interrelated things, shortening the winter break so we're more in line with the universe, discontinuing winter and adding May, so they're 3 separate but interrelated recommendations from this subcommittee are things that we are considering. We are having a forum, they are having a forum led by the subcommittee members next week to gather additional input and concerns from faculty, staff, and obviously students as well. In fact, I've been hearing from a couple of students for some clarification. One of the critical searches that we're having ongoing right now is for the Crane Dean. This is a tough one to fill. Michael Sitton has been phenomenal in that position for a number of years, so we're very, very sad that he is retiring. The search committee has identified finalists who will be on campus 3rd and 4th week of March. So there'll be more information that will be coming out as we get closer to time. That will include, of course, open forums so that the students and community can attend. So very excited with the caliber of the applicants. Not surprised, given Crane's legacy and Potsdam's unique position. But it will be reassuring to me to finally have somebody in place, because that's very critical. And just a quick note, this evening is a dance performance. The dances are choreographed. Thank you. It didn't sound right when it came out. Created by our amazing faculty, but performed by our equally amazing students. So there's a performance this evening at 7:30. There's a 2 o'clock and a 7:30 on Saturday, I believe is the schedule. So if you are here, it will be wonderful for you to attend, because it's amazing, the amazing talents of our wonderful faculty and students will be on display. And that's over in, of course, the Performing Arts Center, in the big theater, not in the dance studio. So I'd be happy to entertain any
Just a
questions.
brief question.
Yes.
I got to try to get my head around this Maymester.
Yep.
If the goal is to get people out of here earlier in May, how do you add a Maymester to get them out of here earlier still?
So getting students out earlier impacts every single student.
Right.
Maymester would only impact those who need the courses.
Doesn't need the courses. So it wouldn't be anything to make up before graduation.
No.
So we look into the next year.
That's correct. That's correct. And I would assume we would focus also on offering courses online so that students could scatter and still participate in classes. But there are some that obviously need face-to-face instruction.
The critical thing is Excelsior, because students have to maintain full credits for the academic year. So if they don't have 30 credits by the end of the academic year, they're at risk of losing their Excelsior money. So we want to make sure, yes, not just this year, but so we need to make sure we're serving those students.
Good question.
Thank you.
If a student that is on track to graduate, but say fails a class and needs to make it up, would they be able to take it in that Maymester?
Yes, correct. Hoping that the course is going to be offered, right? So we need to make sure we're using our available data to identify those high-need courses. And I think that's one thing that we haven't done as well as needed in our winter session, and why it's kind of flailing, not using that. So if we keep winter session, we could be more successful by more carefully looking to what are the courses that are needed from students. But I think we'd have a better idea for that if we moved it to May. So So, and also, students would be already here and not having to come back after the holidays.
Right.
So I think that the recommendation is one that makes sense from a student success and retention perspective.
This is all moving into next year, right?
It would be a couple of years from now. It would not be for the next academic year. If the proposal is accepted, it would be for the following academic year. That calendar hasn't been set yet.
Was that the purpose of extending it to 6 weeks, was the winter programs that you offered? Or?
I don't know how it slipped into that length of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think we needed to avoid opening on Martin Luther King Day because that is a federal holiday. And I felt quite strongly that students need services when they come back. So I think there was some, we historically had a very long one, and I think rather than come back before, the calendar committee recommended coming back after, but.
And we have been, I've asked for some discussion around the MLK Day issue.
Yes.
What I love about the ability of shortening winter and coming back before MLK Day is it gives the campus the opportunity to embrace and celebrate that really important holiday. So, for example, some of the other comprehensive campuses start classes, let's say, the Wednesday before MLK Day. So students are in class Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then the campus celebrates the Monday holiday. Classes are not held, right? I have asked the registrar, and we would have wiggle room in the spring semester to be able to not hold classes on MLK Day, so that we can figure out a way to as I said, have a campus-wide celebration, which I'm really excited about. I think it's the right thing to do for our students and for this campus. But we would not be holding class on that day.
So it would be alternate programming, speakers,
yes.
panel discussions.
Exactly. I think we would take the students' lead on that to see what kind of celebration that the students would like to see on that day.
Would the change in the calendar, 2 questions. One, does it require approval from SUNY Central? So it won't take 5 years, okay.
Right.
And the second question is, what impact, I assume that the committee is looking at the impact of moving our graduation in relation to everybody else's graduation, so that's where the calendar committee originally was, so everybody didn't have it on the same weekend.
That's correct. The committee is certainly aware and attuned to that. Right.
Any other questions? I just have a comment that the stuff in your report on the changes to the orientation, I think is long overdue.
Thank you.
Instead of having people come back for rotating weekends whenever they could get here.
It was fun, though.
Yeah, I'm sure it was fun as an orientation leader.
Oh, no, I was student.
Oh, when you were a student.
Before I
You
was a
still
student.
are a student, okay. Right, you didn't graduate while we were out last 2 weeks.
Nah.
did you? Okay. Just checking. But I think it's good bonding experience for the class to come together as a whole for the first time.
Right, and they will have opportunities to engage with each other through that First Connect program, the CELIA program, which we're really excited about being a pilot for.
Yeah, just to talk on that, I was a part of the CELIA program last year. It was really, really, really helpful. It was really, really fun. It was great to talk to people like overseas, and I kind of missed them during my last session.
Right.
But with this, they'll see them when they come back to school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
I did have a question though. Is there any way that the subcommittee could host maybe 2 open forums? Just because I know after the email you sent out yesterday, it was during our assembly meeting, and the time that the open forum is going to be is during our assembly meeting time. I know a lot of our members want to go and express their opinions on it and stuff like that, but because we have a lot of business to get through, we won't be able to attend, including myself and my executive board. Just wanted to know if there's any flexibility with doing 2 or extending the time or something.
Right. So I can't speak for the subcommittee. I'm just the sender-outer of the email. I do know that we're seriously behind in setting the academic calendar, so there is a sense of urgency from the subcommittee on getting a calendar set. I think we need to see what happens at the forum next week, and then we'll defer to conversation with the president about how much more information the president's council will need, and what issues arise.
I'm wondering, is there a way in assembly that, or could students send us some input in alternative ways?
Right.
They could.
I know that, but also like an
Yeah.
opportunity to speak. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll see if we can make some extension, but I would also encourage everybody, whether it's email or.
Callis, if we sent a collection of faculty or maybe a representative from the subcommittee or somebody to your assembly?
Right.
Would that?
Yes, that'd be perfect, if that could happen.
Oh,
Something
yeah.
that we could look and see if that's.
Oh,
possible.
sure. For next week? Or
Yes.
Okay. I will email the registrar and ask if that could happen. So the subcommittee's under her. So.
And our Sunday minutes is right in Keller's too, right down the hall from where the meeting's
Oh,
gonna be at
perfect.
too, yeah, so.
Oh, that might be good. Okay, no, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yep. I will email them as soon as I get back over to my seat so I don't forget. I think that's a great idea.
Okay, thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you so much.
And I was negligent in my duties. We're also welcoming officially today to his first council meeting is Keith Kaplan, who was our interim Chief Financial Officer, Business Affairs and Administrative Division VP. So welcome, Keith.
Thank you.
And now it's your turn.
Thank you very much. So it's really thrilling to be on campus, to be here at Potsdam. Just a little bit just about me and my background. Until about a month and a half ago, I was responsible for the financial statements for the SUNY Research Foundation. So it was in the family, a little bit more of a distant relative than like a sibling campus or anything like that. But Research Foundation works very closely with SUNY on administering the sponsored programs here. But I was responsible for the financial statements and did that for about 11 years. Before that, my previous 18, 20 years before that was mostly in private industry, doing financial reporting and internal and external auditing. So this is definitely, a college campus is a very different kind of animal than some of those others, but at the same time, there are certain principles that are universal. Just wanted to highlight, there is a report in your packet from our area, but I just want to highlight a couple of things, really the objectives that I'm working on and my office is working on over the next several months. Include, we were talking a little bit before about spending and about the cash constraints. So really trying to help the campus with the cash position, with financial health. SUNY system admin has been excellent in working with us. And one of the things that's making things a little bit easier is the fact that we have frequent interface with SUNY every couple of weeks. There's a meeting with them, and we talk about our cash position, we talk about our cash flows, et cetera. So they're very much involved, and because of that, it just makes it easier. Once they know what's going on, there isn't any mystery there. So we're, I'm assisting with scrutinizing spending. There's a lot of emphasis on other than personal spending because of the fact that that's what we can control. So since we do have the cash deficits, we focus on that which we can control, and that's the OTPS spending. So we're working very carefully to keep that under control for the rest of the academic year. And then I'm working with the Fiscal Affairs and Strategic Planning team, FASP, that was stood up about a year ago, and that's a cross-functional team of faculty and staff that have gotten themselves involved in our in seeing through the leadership and stewardship points from our strategic plan, and that is a wonderful thing. That folks who are not in finance on their day-to-day, but are involved and are important for our operational success, have chosen to get involved in the financial stewardship of the institution. I think that's great. So we had a meeting yesterday to really kick things off and to talk about the rollout of the budget, how it's going to look like for this year. I really want the team to be an important part of how that rolls out. But the other thing that comes out of the strategic plan, out of those leadership and stewardship points, about half of those points are about communication. So clearly there's a need. There's a need for improved communication with the campus. So we're going to be working very carefully with the team to improve campus communication and work with the faculty and department heads to get them information so they have context. So when we're doing the budget together, everybody has an understanding of what we're trying to do as a college. I also noted in the report, there was an audit that was done by the university auditor at SUNY that there were some findings in terms of our business processes and our business systems that we need to focus on. So what they've done is just preliminarily, they've made those points. It's a draft, but we have a couple of months to work with in which to address those points. There's going to be actually a meeting this afternoon to talk about the systems with SUNY administration, but that's going to be a longer-term thing that we are addressing those points, and in addition to that, making some improvements within business office functions to address those things, to strengthen our internal controls, and that's just going to be good for the college altogether. And just finally, purchasing and payables is also in our area. And there's some major requests for proposals and bid processes that are going on. So Leah was mentioned, that's a procurement. But also solid waste, other things that, they're important, maybe mundane, but important things that we need to deal with. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Just a question on the critical fill for the position, vacant positions. Is that a decision that's made here, or is that got to go through Albany?
The nature of which vacant positions?
Well, actually, let me speak to that. I had asked the university auditor to give me sort of a plan for what would appropriate staffing be. So this was our decision. I held those to make sure that when we did fill those positions, we had the right people doing the right things. And so once we got the report, I released the positions to Keith. So that was my decision.
All right.
Any other questions?
No? Thank you, and welcome to Potsdam.
We're thrilled. We are thrilled Keith is with
Yes.
us.
Appreciate it. Saltania.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me to come back again today and talk to you about my very favorite topic, raising money for Potsdam. I'm going to highlight 4 items from my report. The first, of course, our annual fundraising and our goals for annual fundraising. This year we have a cash goal of $3 million, and we have just hit the $2 million mark on that. A good place to be at this point in the fiscal year. So now our conversations border on how are we going to go past the goal, not how we're going to get to the goal. And as I talk about these things, I always then immediately say I need to manage the expectations, but we're feeling very good that we're going to hit the goal this year of that $3 million mark. Last year at this point, we were at about $1.8 million, so we're a couple $100,000 ahead right now. Again, a great place to be. Some of that increase for us this year has to do with estate realizations that we got in the fall. I mention that, I mention it often because I know that is a growth opportunity for us in fundraising. It's one we're going to be spending a lot of time and effort on, and we will be seeing the results from that. If you haven't heard this statistic, of us boomers, 10,000 of us boomers reach the age of 70 every day. And so the world, the fundraising world is going to be shifting as we go. That we all need help. We all need help planning our estate, the philanthropy portion of our estate. So, and our door is open for consulting. So that's our immediate fundraising. We're also moving towards our next comprehensive fundraising campaign. We're on track to go into the quiet phase in mid-2022. Right now, we're kind of in the quiet phase of doing that. And for the musicians, I'm calling it the pianissimo phase of the campaign. Right now, we're doing lots of training and background work. We're getting more gift officers on the road. And as I'm very proud to say, including the vice president and also including our president, we've got her out there meeting alumni as well. So we've more than doubled the number of people on the road meeting with alumni. We're getting in new technology. We're going to be transforming the way we do business over the next 12 to 18 months. So that's happening. And another very big step for us, we've just decided on our campaign consultant. And we're very much looking forward to working with that firm and benefiting from their guidance on the campaign. Third item, marketing. My show and tell item for today you have, I think, in the front of your booklets, our donor impact report. This was distributed after the last council meeting. We choose to show, as it says, the impact of gifts on the campus. This goes to all of our donor and a large number of alumni, shows how donors have changed lives here on the campus. And I'll just mention on the inside of the back, an update there, our endowment, so you see the nice performance over the last number of years. Our endowment today is about $38 million, doing very well with that. And one more number on the inside back cover, 762 donor-funded scholarships that provided over $1 million last year for students. So working very well in that regard. We're showing good progress and very pleased about all of that. My final item, I'm going to refer to the second paragraph in my report. Over the last 18 months, there has been tremendous change in the advancement area. Lots of new concepts, new things going on. And I want to give kudos to every person in the advancement area. It's an incredible team. They've really jumped on board with the changes that we're making, just way in the lead of getting where we need to go for fundraising for the campaign. And we have many more changes to come. But at this point in our evolution, we're kind of taking pause and looking at what advancement does and looking at the skill sets that we have as an advancement office, and then looking around and seeing what kind of strategic relationships we can create with areas of the campus so that we can help increase revenue and gift revenue that's coming in as well. And one example that I'll just make is the CYM program, the Crane Youth Music Program. That's a summer program for basically teens. It's a very important recruiting mechanism for Crane. And what we're doing with CYM in partnership, we have brought in the Crane Alumni Board, and that board is helping to create lists, mailing lists, that CYM can use to advertise. The board, of course, knows music teachers all across the state and can get the word out about the program and do some advertising in that regard. We are helping, in terms of advertising, we are helping CYM with some local advertising that they're doing, again, to get the word out and to promote scholarships. We're also helping them in structuring some scholarships to offer these students to allow them to come. So we're packaging all of that. We're doing some help with them on some bookkeeping tasks that we have expertise in. And of course, we're now helping them create a fundraising program for CYM. So a lot of things that we do, we know how to do. We can sort of package that and go around and help other areas. Of course, it's all to our greater interest because it will generate more gifts, and I can count those gifts. So there's that interest as well for us. Questions? You're easy on me today.
Thank you, Sal.
Very good, thanks.
Student Affairs.
Thank you, Jim.
Come on down, Eric.
All right. As many of my colleagues have said, I'm certainly happy to answer any questions to the report that you have in your folder, which was a summary from my 7 direct reports from the areas I supervise of their activities and accomplishments through the end of the fall semester. Again, similar to my colleagues, I'd offer a couple of highlights and updates. I don't know that I need to say much about athletics because President Esterberg is already and very proudly one of our most ardent supporters of our team. I would just add that in the first week in March, we will host the first home game of our inaugural men's volleyball season. I think it's March 4th.
Yep.
In addition to, again, a big contest tonight with men's volleyball against Oneonta. If we win, I believe that will secure second place in the SUNYAC going into the playoffs. In terms of campus life, which is our student activities, among other things, I would highlight the great success we've had this semester with some of the changes to our Bear Shuttle. This is a local bus that we have, which we partner with the county. This provides transportation services to our students in town. The change that was made was an additional, not only additional hours, but there's now a program called the College Connector. So essentially at 5 after the hour, the shuttles for all 4 of the college campuses meet in the Walmart parking lot so that students can jump on each other buses and go to classes on other campuses, get to services in Canton. And that's been a great additional service to our students. Ridership is up. We're currently working with the county. In fact, I had a meeting earlier this week at the county planning office as we're working on our contract for future years, but that's been immensely successful. In terms of, I'll kind of combine counseling and student health, even though they're separate offices. Despite the fact of some slightly lower enrollments, those offices have not seen a decline in appointments. In fact, our counseling center had its busiest fall semester on record. Some of that was due to the success in the new program that many of the returning council members will know. We made some changes and piloted a counselor in residence program. We retooled some of our live-in residence hall positions so that we could hire 2 licensed mental health professionals that actually lived and worked and had their hours in our residence halls for our students. We believe we're the first SUNY to do that with live-in professionals. Each of them saw over 70 students as part of their own caseload this fall, and also were very active in outreach and programming, and that was immensely successful, and I think also added to the increase in some of those numbers. I would mention in terms of residence life, they play a critical role. President Esberg mentioned our really successful retention rate. A lot of that is due to the work of our residence life staff and working with students to make sure that bills are paid and they're registered so that they're not coming back and accruing additional debt. I'd highlight not in your program that we are in the midst of our RA recruitment season where we're hiring RAs for next year and had a record number of students, over 100 pickup applications. They're due today, but we haven't seen numbers and interest like that in quite a number of years, so we're really pleased that students are interested in those positions. Student conduct data is there. That always keeps us busy. We've beginning part of the spring semester as we're catching up with some cases from the end of fall, but we're working through and adjudicating those. Have done some additional hearing board trainings to get students and faculty staff trained as volunteer hearing board members. And lastly, I'd highlight we are pretty close to being back to full staff in our university police office. We had 2 new officers successfully complete our own law enforcement training institute in December, and so they are now on and in the rotation and doing their field training, but filling shifts that we were having to use overtime with, and they're getting out and meeting students, and that's been great to have those 2 new officers on staff as well.
I have a few questions.
Great.
The Bear Show, how long has that existed?
We are in our 2nd or 3rd year.
I think it started in 2016 when I came.
Yeah, I'm thinking the 3rd year. So it started with a need that we needed and heard from our students, especially as we got more students from farther away who didn't come with cars. So we then worked with student government at the time to institute a mandatory, it's a transportation fee that students pay that has gone to help fund that, and then we've been able to increase hours and services, for example, through student government. Students who are off campus said, when the weather's really bad in like December, January, and February, could we have additional just morning hours to help us get to campus? And so we've been able to fund that and then ultimately work that into the proposal to make that permanent for future years.
That's great. Counseling center, I see you say here that there were 17 student psychiatric hospitalizations. Is that since the beginning of the school year?
That's correct. It's one of the things that has been, and believe it or not, those numbers are down, and I think we have only had one, knock on wood, since the beginning of the spring year, but we have had a concerning trend of those numbers being higher than similar colleges our size. I think the good news is that because we offer such extensive mental health services, is that we are able to proactively get in front of those, and a majority of those students are ones that come in and say, I don't know if I can be safe, help me, so that we're able to get them services and things. But some students will just go right to either university police or go right to the local emergency room themselves as well too. So I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think from those fall numbers, like 80% of those students had come back to campus after receiving some off-campus or outpatient or inpatient treatment.
Is there any talk about this in the student body? Is it ample? How's this going?
I know that people always do bring up issues about mental health services on this campus, just because that, like Eric said, for our campus is small that we have, the issues are pretty high. And just because the counseling center is only yet so big, it's hard for students to go in and see them as regularly as they would want to. Some students would like to go weekly, but might only get offered on bi-weekly, which is why residents like then propose a whole counseling residence, giving them the opportunity to go see somebody if they need to get seen, but then also still be able to go to the counseling center. But it's always a topic of discussion during our meetings.
The other thing I would mention that we're really fortunate to have that many campuses 2 or 3 times our size do not have is psychiatric care on campus. We have a full-time psychiatric nurse practitioner that sees students to do medications and balance medications and all that kind of, and many campuses, again, even in more urban settings, are referring those to off-campus, and we don't have to do that. Miranda is very busy. She has 15-minute appointments, and she books sometimes 3 weeks in advance to check in with students and their needs. Thankfully, with our counseling center staff, we seem to be, I'll say, adequately staffed. I suppose we could always have more counselors, but both in the fall and right now, not only do we have emergency appointment and walk-in appointments every day for students who need that immediate, but in terms of booking regular appointments, we have not had to book any more than a week and a half or 2 weeks out for students and their services, which is great. In past semesters, we've sometimes had 3 or 4 weeks out for booking appointments.
I think that's great to have a place where here really can get that out on campus.
Yeah, we do too, and as you know, we have limited resources in the communities. Even, for example, the St. Lawrence Health System here in town, they've had challenges trying to get full-time psychologists or psychiatrists on their staff. And so the fact that we've been able to have a full-time psychiatric nurse practitioner has been a real benefit for our students, helping with both recruitment and retention.
Is there any correlation between that and the weather that's up here and the cold and things that students might not be used to when they get up here that might kick off a little depression and anxiety?
I'm not too sure. I know students do complain about, well, at least this semester, it's been a long semester already.
Nice. Yeah.
Even though it's only been, 4 weeks now? Feels like it's been 10, but yes, I feel like the weather does play a big factor. However, there is an option inside the counseling center. I think it's called the sunroom or the
light therapy room.
Light therapy room.
They have, yeah. The other thing I can mention through, we have a very generous family that donates directly to the counseling center. They've also, through that foundation account, purchased I think it is 20 light therapy machines that are actually mostly in Crane, but students can go and actually sign those out as well too, in addition to having the light therapy room at the counseling center, which would help, to your question with seasonal affective disorder, that they do see, in the counseling center.
Are they mostly in Crane because of the lack of natural light in the building?
Yes, that's exactly right. That
But
was a need.
I will say that we did look at the, we do look at the students who are using mental health services, and they are not disproportionately Crane students. They
Correct.
are distributed throughout our student body, so it is not just
Very
a-
evenly with the three
yeah,
schools.
It is
yeah.
not just a Crane student phenomenon, but.
I see you've got 27 people trained in the use of Narcan.
Yes.
Are you seeing ODs on campus increasing or decreasing? I mean, it's generally increasing in the North Country.
Correct. Thankfully, we do not see much of that on campus. We're doing that as a proactive measure. We have the nasal Narcan is in all of our AEDs across campus, and so that there's training. Our health educator is doing the training. Our university police officers, carry them as well too. I'm not aware that we've administered any Narcan this year at all to any of our students on campus. So, the biggest illegal substance issue that we face and see pretty regularly is marijuana. But we're thankfully not seeing a lot of opiate abuse on campus.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
I don't mean to stay forever in the counseling.
That's
center.
okay. I'm happy to answer as many questions now or after the meeting that you have. We're really proud of the work that they do.
We're a small, tight-knit community up here in the North Country, as everyone in this room knows. Was there any outreach to the student body concerning the student at St. Lawrence?
I know I did some outreach to my counterpart, who is the vice president for student affairs there, when I had heard about their tragedy, and certainly offered anything that I could do, and if there was anything any of our staff could do to assist them in their work with students. We have a really good relationship with the four associated colleges. I know the people that serve in my position on the three other campuses very well, and I did reach out to my counterpart.
Anything else? No?
I don't know if this is a question for you, Eric, but just because I see Student Union on here.
Yep.
The renovations are still underway and projected to open back up in the fall, right?
Correct.
Because I heard some rumors going around campus that it was going to be another year. I told them they were wrong, but I just want to make sure for my own sanity.
For everything that I have been told, that is correct, that is wrong. The information that you have, in fact, some of the tweaks that we've done in not opening the lobby this spring, but having that sort of walled-off, tunneled area was in response to them allowing to continue their work. In fact, I just saw an email earlier this week that said everything that the contractors and our physical plant managers who oversee the project, they are on schedule, and the student union should be back open in the fall for full student and other service use.
Awesome.
I'm excited about that too, because my office has been relocated this year as well too, so it'd be nice to be back in the student union.
Okay, thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
And last but not least, in terms of reports, Bernadette.
Good morning, everyone. You also have on the report of the division, but I just have a few highlights here. We will start disseminating the campus climate survey results to the campus community next week, but I would just like to share some highlights from that survey with you. So we contracted with Higher Education Data Sharing Consortium to administer the campus climate survey for diversity, equity, and inclusion on our campus in February and March of 2019. 52 institutions across the country participated in that survey, with 21,978 students across those 52 institutions participating and responding to the survey, and 14,216 employees responding as well. The average response rate was 19% for students and 43% for employees. And for SUNY Potsdam, it was 12% for students and 32% for employees. And HEADS actually breaks down the survey into small institutions, which are less than 4,000, and larger institutions with 4,000 and above. And for SUNY Potsdam, compared to its small institutions counterpart, the majority of us are students of color, LGBTQ plus individuals and others actually indicated that they had more positive views of institutional support for diversity and equity and inclusion on our campus. Students were more satisfied with overall campus climate compared to faculty, staff, and administrators, with 69% reporting being very generally satisfied. And over 70% of our students were satisfied with the campus experience and environment regarding diversity and inclusion, compared to 60% of employees. In terms of overall institutional support, over 60% of our students, faculty, staff, and administrators feel that senior leadership actually demonstrates a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And over 70% of employees reported that recruitment of historically marginalized students, faculty, and staff is a priority for the institution, with just under over 50% of students feeling the same way. But over 70% of our students and over 90% of our employees reported knowing who to contact if they observed any form of discrimination or harassment. And in terms of experiences, over 80% of students, faculty, and staff agree that on-campus experiences and interactions that are related to diversity is really, really beneficial. So when we look at the results, we see that overall we got some really good feedback and good experiences across the board. There is still work to be done, but I think looking at the results, we are really moving in the right direction. And to tie with that, the last semester, FYS's staff and faculty did evaluations from the course, the entire semester of fall semester, to find out from students what were some non-academic skills that they value during the course of the fall semester. And the top-rated non-academic skill from that evaluation was diversity, equity, and inclusion related skills. In also ranking activities that students found most useful that also has some class component on that, diversity, equity, and inclusion skills was rated number 2, and the days of reflection sessions rated number 3. So again, it's really showing that the work that is being done in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion is actually valuable across on our campus. Any questions in that area? Just a few other things I would like to highlight, not a lot of it. The Associated Colleges Consortium on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion will be hosting a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Conference on March 28th on our campus. The Office of Native American Affairs is collaborating with the Sustainability Committee and the New York Poor People's Campaign to plan and organize a program on the doctrine of discovery in April 4th and 5th this year. The Office of Native American Affairs is also planning a Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women event on May 5th. The C-STEP and NC-STEP symposium just occurred a couple of weeks ago, I think on February 9th, but they're currently working on planning the Northeast Regional Science and Engineering Program that will be held on our campus in March. And there are so many activities going on across the division, but I just wanted to highlight a few, and you have to report if you have any questions. Questions?
Looks like they had karaoke and croissants on our birthdays, Steve.
And we missed it.
We missed it.
They share a birthday. But they're not.
Same age.
I was going to say, they're not the same age. You beat me to it, Steve. Nice try, though.
Thanks.
Oh, what's the student conference at the Sagamore Resort in April?
Put up on my.
It's a C-STEP.
Yeah, so that's the C-STEP. They always have an annual conference each year, so that is part of the conference where all the other C-STEP programs and the other institutions come to that.
Okay.
So.
Great.
Any other questions? If not, thank you very much, Bernadette.
Thank you.
Now we have 2 action items. And we are welcoming 2 new members and 1 returning member today. We are also saying goodbye to 2 longtime members. The first resolution is honoring Bryan Hughes, the attorney from Malone, who served with us, I can't remember how many years, but it's been a long time. And before he came to us, Bryan was also the chair of the college council, or the board of trustees at North Country Community College. I forget, they're a community college, so they have trustees, we have councils. So the first recognizes Bryan's services to us and the community. And I would entertain a motion. Richard?
Second.
Seconded by Callis and Steve. Any discussion? We all wish Bryan the best. He's had some health challenges in recent years and decided that it was time for him to step back. So we will make sure that Bryan gets a copy of this resolution, and I think we should also make some mention at a commencement of him and also Roger. So hearing no discussion, all in favor of the resolution of appreciation for Bryan, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And the second is a resolution of appreciation for Roger Linden.
I'll move that one as well.
Okay, thank you, Richard.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Harold. Any discussion? Many of you know Roger, you've known him, he's still involved with the college on the foundation, and he's an alum, and served with distinction, including several years as chair of the council. So we thought it was appropriate to recognize his service and thank him for his contributions, and know that he has a continuing relationship with the college. So any discussion, amendments? Hearing none, all in favor of the resolution as submitted?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, and we will make sure that Roger. Yep.
The emeritus member of the council, does that include his ability to attend the commencements, or no?
He wouldn't be attending as a council member.
Okay, I just didn't know what the emeritus member of the council meant. That's all.
I don't know. Did
We'll
we do
have
that
to-
before?
yeah, we've done it in the Yeah, we'll have to past. Figure it out.
Oh.
Do you
So
know
it's
what
just a tie,
benefits-
I mean, he's not getting anything for that. I thought maybe
No.
as a emeritus member, he still is eligible for
I
a lot
think
of
it's meant to be symbolic, and that he'll always be a part of our college campus and have access to attend anything and participate.
Okay.
Yeah, same with Bryan, because he's getting the same.
I was going to say, faculty emeriti have access to parking and library privileges
Right.
and things like that, so my assumption would be it would have some of those.
Okay. All right. Any old business to come before the council?
Well, I mean, I'd like to thank Jeff and Alex for joining. Now I'm not the junior man anymore.
There you go. You're not the new kid on the block
That's right.
anymore. Now we have 2 new bright shiny things. Any new business to come before the council? I want to remind everyone, April 24th, next council meeting. What's the date for commencement?
May 23rd.
Of course you would know.
And Callis knows.
Spoken as, oh, there we go, May 23rd. Mark that on your calendars. Yeah, and you can see Callis give a speech and walk across the stage. And if he doesn't behave himself between now and then, somebody might stick their foot out. No, we wouldn't do that to you, Callis. All right.
Whole stage was
Just a comment.
Yes.
On Tuesday, I went around to a bunch of different businesses in Potsdam, and I actually stopped and spoke with Allison at Brick and Mortars, part of the DRI committee and everything. And I actually asked her about community involvement that the college is at, and she told me about, is it called First Weekend? Where everyone, First Saturday. I think that's great, and anything more we can do like that is great to get students out.
Very good. Very good. Nicole Conant, right behind you, has been working very, very, very hard on that, because we think that's an important part of our mission.
Great.
As former President Bill Merwin used to say, we are a part of, not a part from the community. So on that note, thank you all for coming. It's nice to see everyone, and we should note in the minutes that Molly was excused because of the change in the date. She and her family are on vacation because the kids are off all week. All right, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you April 23rd.
I'll make the motion.
I know. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Someone wish to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, Callis, anyone want to second this motion to adjourn? Second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Alice, I have an idea for our SGA meeting.